My mom asked me a good question today.
What is it?
She asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I haven't thought about it. Have you?
Not that much. Bro, stop fixing the bike. Let's just go to your house and play Xbox.
Hey guys, I made something in the shed. You want to check it out?
Sure.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's cool, bro.
Who made that? Bro.
You made that?
Become a man of value. Who made that?
That was so funny how he just...
Another mosquito landed on your forehead.
Damn! Oh wow. Alright.
Hi and welcome to the first episode of The Busy Carpenter Team. My name is Alexander Burgos, and in this show we're going to learn step by step how to create whatever project is part of this tutorial, and primarily to continue to be driven and motivated to accomplish any task or creation that leads to our ultimate goal. Now the project we're going to create today is this sign that's right above me, and it states "Become a man or woman of value," and it's a partial quote, of course, by Albert Einstein. Now I'm going to get into the 4 steps involved. The first step is I took the material and I painted the material one solid color. The second step is I used a program. Now there's 2 programs. One happens to be cheaper than the other, but I'll leave that in the description at the end of the show. But there's a program called the VCarve Pro, and then there's another one called Aspire, which is the program that I have and that I used. So the second step again is I used the Aspire program to create the sign, which then it created a toolpath for the third step, which is the CNC machine. Once the CNC machine cut out the final product, then I went on to the 4th step, which is I sealed the entire sign with clear coat. I just wanted to add to stay tuned to the end of the show, where I'm going to be recommending a book that's geared towards continuing to be driven and motivated. And hopefully you guys can encourage me, and I can encourage you, basically not to quit, because a lot of times these projects are difficult and they're not easy to create. So again, the book is there primarily to help us to continue to be driven and motivated to accomplish these goals. Also, stay tuned for an upcoming show where I'm going to be making this carving here. It's for a good friend of mine and his 30th anniversary, so stay tuned for that show. And also, if you like the show, it'd be appreciated if you can click the like button, subscribe, and also click on the bell or notification button. That way you know when there's upcoming shows. Also, be sure to check the description list of all the tools, electronics, and materials used to create this show. I'd like to end it off by saying thank you to Alex, Aaron, and Nigel for helping me with my first show. It's very much appreciated. Now without further ado, let's get into step number 1. Okay, so this is step 1, and of course I have the material that I used for the sign that's right above me, and this is a sheet of PVC, and this material happens to be about a ½ inch thick, and it's PVC being plastic. So before I painted this material one solid color, which is this color, I had to prep it for it to accept the paint. So what I did was I used 220 grit sandpaper, and I used the orbital sander. Now you can do it by hand also. And then the second step is I used alcohol. I just happen to have alcohol, rubbing alcohol, that was in my medicine cabinet, but you probably want to use like denatured alcohol. And basically you want to wipe down any residue left behind by the sanding process, and also it softens the plastic so it better accepts the paint and it adheres better for the process of the CNC machine. So that was step number 1. Let's get into step number 2, which is the Aspire program and actually creating the sign on the computer. So here we are in the Aspire program. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new file. So let's go over here. And now it gives us a job setup option. The first thing we see here is the job type. We're going to choose single-sided. The job size, the width is going to be 40 inches. The height is going to be 18, and the thickness is going to be a ½ inch. Z0 position is going to be the material surface. XY datum position is going to be the lower left-hand corner. The modeling resolution is going to be standard, and the appearance is going to be walnut. Okay, so we're done with that. We're going to click OK. Now it's going to bring us to create vectors. In this option, we're going to select draw an ellipse. So we're going to click on that. And the first ellipse we're going to draw is actually going to be 32 inches in width, and the height is going to be 12 inches. We're going to go ahead and click on create. As you can see, the ellipse is not on the surface of the material in the center of it. So we're going to close the ellipse option out. And we're going to go ahead and go to transform objects. And we're going to select align selected objects. We're going to select that. And before we choose anything in this option, we got to select the actual ellipse that we want to move. Then we're going to go back where it says align to material, and we're going to click the center. There you go. The ellipse is directly in the center. We're going to go ahead and close this option out. We're going to left click on the material surface to become neutral. And now we're going to create a text inside this ellipse here. So we're going to go ahead where it says create vectors. We're going to click on draw text. And we're going to click on that option. Now we're going to create the quote, which is become a man of value. And it's a partial quote from Albert Einstein. So that is going to be in all capital letters. Become a man of, and then we're going to go to the next line and write value. Just like that. And also a period. And the actual text, we're going to choose Times New Roman, which is right here. And we're going to select bold because we want it to stand out. We want it to be the text to be aligned in the center of the material. The text height, we're going to choose 1.5, so 1.5 inches. We're going to go ahead and click apply. It's not in the center, so now we got to redo the option again where we go to transform objects. We're going to select align selected objects. The object is already selected, being that it's in a pink color. And then we're going to go to align material again, and we're going to click center. Okay, now that it's in the center, we're going to have to close this option out here. We're going to double click on this text now because I want to move it. I don't want it directly in the center here. I want it to be a little bit up on this material. So we're going to drag it in an upward motion. And if you notice, there's some dotted lines that appear. That's there for a guide, so you know that you're directly in the center of the material. And once you got it in position, now you can just let it go. And there it will stay. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to write another text on the bottom, which is Albert Einstein's name. We're going to go ahead and click on the material, which is going to become neutral again. And we're going to choose draw text again. Okay, so once we're here, we're going to go ahead and create Albert Einstein's name, and we're going to write that regular with his the first letter of his name in capital, the following in lowercase. So Albert, and then Einstein. And the text, we're going to choose a script type of a text. CGO print, I believe. Let's see here. There we go. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but That's the print we're going to be using. We're also going to click on bold because we want to stand out. And the height is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be 1.25 inches. So 1.25. We want it in the center there, and we're going to click apply. Okay, that's not in the center, so we're going to have to move it to the center again. So we're going to go ahead to where it says transform objects, align selected object. We're going to go to the center again. We're going to close this out. Now we're going to move this text, and we're going to double click on it, and we're going to drag it down now, making sure we're on that guided line in the center, and I'm going to leave it right about there. That looks good. So that's it for this section. Now the last thing we're going to do is I want 1/4 inch of lip here. So I got to create another ellipse. And being that it's 1/4 inch, if it's 1/4 inch on one side and 1/4 inch on another side, that equals 1/2 inch. So we got to add 1/2 inch to the new ellipse. So we're going to go ahead and select draw ellipse. We're going to write 32.5 for the width and then 12.5 for the height. And we're going to click on create, and it created it. Now we're going to close this out. We're going to select that ellipse that we just created. We're going to go back to the transform objects, align selected objects, and we're going to click center. And as you can see, it created that 1/4 inch lip that we wanted. We're going to close that out, and we're done with the 2D drawing. Okay, now we have to go ahead and create a toolpath and a 3D rendering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this 2D view, and I want to have a 3D view simultaneously. So we go over here to this option where it says arrange views vertically as non-overlapping windows. So we're going to select that. As you can see, now I have a 3D view along with the 2D view. Now we're going to have to go ahead and select the objects that we want to create as a vector. Okay, so we're going to have to hold down the shift key, and we're going to select the inner ellipse and all the text. Okay, now when you're selecting it, you got to make sure that you're holding down the shift key and then using the left click on the mouse. So now that we've created vectors, what we want to do with this particular project is we want to create a pocket, and then we want to create a bevel around the words. So basically all the material around the words is going to be removed, leaving only the words that's left over. And then we want to make a cutout on the outside of the outer ellipse so that we have 1/4 inch lip left over also. Okay. Now the paint scheme on this is going to be red and white. So the actual material I've painted completely red. Okay, so when it removes the material is actually white. It's going to leave the white left over, which is going to have the scheme that I want, which is red and white. So let's go ahead and go to toolpaths. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to select V-carve. So let's select that. Starting depth is 0, flat depth is 0.1, so it's not quite 1/8 inch, but it's deep enough. The tool, as you can see here, there's an illustration of a V bit. It's 90 degrees and it's 1/2 inch. Let's go ahead and select that. It's already selected here. All the numbers look good as far as like the passing depth. So the passing depth is the same as the finished depth. So in this case, it would just take one pass to do this tooling. Okay. Let's see here. The speed rate is good. The feed rate is good. And the tool number is good. Okay. So the tool number, you need that most likely if you have a tool change set up on your machine that's programmed into your machine. I happen to have a fast tool change program where all of these programs are set into one file. Okay. And then I'd have to number the tools, but if you don't have it, you have to create separate files for this entire process, and it takes 3 separate processes to finish this particular project. and we're going to be using 2 different bits. Okay, so this is this number 2 bit for my case, but at the end I'll explain it more. But for right now, this is bit number 2. We're going to click OK. Then here it says use flat area clearance tool. You got to select that because this is the tool that's going to take out most of the material. It's an end mill bit. It's a 1/4 of an inch. So we're going to choose that. Here end mill 0.25 1/4 inch. All these parameters are pretty good. The passing depth is pretty much the same as the finished depth, and is going to do it in one pass pretty much. This tool number is going to be tool number 1. That's the first bit we're going to use. We're going to click OK, and now we're ready to calculate. It's going to create the tool paths, and there you have it. We want to change the name here, the name of these tools that we're using on tool paths. And as you can see, there's an illustration of the type of bit that's going to be used. So obviously this one here is going to be an end mill bit. We want to change this name of the toolpath to pocket, since that's what it's pretty much creating, a pocket. And then we want to change this V-carve name, not entirely, but we're just going to remove the 1 and we're going to leave it as V-carve. So now we won't be as confused. So now we're going to go ahead and preview all the toolpaths. And there you go. If you wanted to slow down the speed to actually see how the tool is going to move or the path that it's going to take, you can actually slow the speed down. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, slow the speed down. I'm going to reset the toolpaths here so there's nothing on the material surface. And I'm going to select preview all toolpaths. And as you can see, it shows you the path the tool is going to take to create what was programmed here. Okay, the next thing I want to do is the material surface is completely red, but the part where it's cutting out the material, that's going to be white, right? So we want to change that color. So we're going to go ahead and select pocket. Okay, and then it gives us an option here. It says toolpath color. We want to select white. And as you can see, it colors all in white the path that this pocket tool is going to take, and then it actually leaves in red what it's not removing. So the V-carve bit is going to remove the rest of the red. We're going to turn that to white as well. So we're going to go over here where it says toolpath color. We're going to select V-carve, and then we're going to select the white color. And that's pretty much the finished project here. So we're going to get closer here. As you can see, there's a bevel. And this is actually the color of the material. The material is actually going to be white. We're going to be using PVC sheet. So it's actually like a plastic type of material. Same stuff that they use PVC pipes with, most likely. And that's it. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create that cutout. So we got to go back over here to the 2D view. We're going to click on the material surface to become neutral. We're going to hold the shift and we're going to select the outer ellipse. We're going to go back here to the toolpaths now. We're going to close out this preview toolpaths. We're going to go to tool operations and we're going to click profile toolpath. The starting depth is 0. The cutting depth is 0.515 because the material thickness is a 1/2 inch and we want to go a little below it to make the cutout. The tool we're going to choose is the end mill 1/4 inch. We're going to select that. We're going to select end mill 0.25 1/4 inch. All these parameters are pretty good. We actually don't have to change this because it gives us an option here. We're going to click, actually the only thing we're going to change is the number on this tool is actually tool number 3. It's the last process on this project. So we're going to change that to number 3. We're going to click OK. And then if you notice here it says passes. So you can actually change the number of passes this tool is going to take to create the cutout. and we're going to select 4 passes. We're going to click OK. Then it says machine vectors, and basically this is the path that's going to take around the outer ellipse. So we can make it go on the cut on the outside, we can make it cut on the inside of the line, or we can make it cut right on top of the line. So what we want to do is we want to make it cut out, so we're going to cut on the outside of the line. Next option here is we want to click on Add Tabs to the Toolpath so that the project doesn't flop around and get damaged and things of that nature. So we're going to click on that, and you can choose a different length that you want for the tab and the thickness. These happen to be okay. It's a 1/2 inch and 1/8 of an inch. We're going to go ahead and click on Edit Tabs. Okay, so once we're here, we go to the 2D view, and now we position these tabs where we want to on the 2D view. So I'm going to click here on the top center, bottom center, the right side on the center, the left side on the center, and then in the center of the selected tabs that we just positioned, all the way around, just like that. And in total we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tabs, so that's cool. It ain't going nowhere. So we're going to close, and we're going to calculate now. And it gives us a warning that we're going to go past the 1/2 inch depth, which is fine, we know that, so we're going to click OK. And as you can see there, it created the toolpath, and now we can preview it by, it's already selected here, so we're going to preview the selected toolpath. And as you can see, it made the cutout. So the cutout is an 1/8 inch thick here, and then the length is a 1/2 inch. And now we're done. Now we go to toolpaths, and we can close out preview toolpaths. We can go ahead and select where it says the box here, where it says toolpaths. It's going to select all the toolpaths we just created. And we're going to go over here to save toolpaths. And if you notice, earlier I was mentioning that my machine has a fast tool change option where I don't have to create separate files for these toolpaths. It all puts it in one toolpath. So it says here there's a selection. I'll put all visible toolpaths to one file. And it basically brings the machine back to me, and it allows me to change the bit and then just press enter, and then it's gonna remeasure the changed bit and continue on with the process. I don't have to reopen a file and you know, take the extra steps to continue the process. So if your machine doesn't do that, all you'd have to do is create separate files, which it doesn't take it, you know, not that much longer, maybe a few minutes. But if you do, then I guess you're already familiar with the process. If not, this is the process that you would have to take. My particular machine, the manufacturer recommends that I use this post processor, which it says CAD Master Tool Change. Now, the manufacturer of your machine is going to recommend to you what post processor to use in order for your machine to work and create these this particular project or project that you're developing. So we're going to save it, and I actually saved it under Einstein quote. So that's what I put, Einstein quote, and you can see it there. So the next step is now just to cut it out on the machine. So let's go ahead and take a look how the project came out.
Okay, here we are at the CNC machine, and before we even cut on our finished piece, I made a scrap piece of PVC painted in the same paint that we used on our finished piece. Now the reason we're using a scrap piece is that if there happens to be a mistake, we don't use it on our finished product. Here are the bits that we're going to use. In particular, we're going to be using the ones on the right side, the 2 bits on the right side. But the ones on the left side, as you can see, they're pretty much similar as far as the bottom are concerned, and then the fluting
But what you notice is that the flutes actually go in opposite directions. That's because this bit is actually an up-cut spiral bit, and this one is a down-cutting spiral bit. This one is the bit we're going to use. This is a plastic cutting bit, and as you can see, the bottom of it is actually slanted just a bit. It doesn't have a flat bottom like these. So we're going to be using that bit, and then of course, this is the V bit. It happens to be a 1/2 inch in diameter, and it's a 90-degree V bit. So the procedure is done as far as the scrap piece is concerned. We're just going to take a look at how that turned out right now. As I can notice here, there's burrs around the letter, and there's also red bits. And they're pretty much stuck there. So this is the reason why we actually do this, so we can actually see what the outcome is before we do it on our finished piece. As far as the finished piece is concerned, what I'm going to do is edit the program, and I'm going to add an extra pass so that it actually cleans it up. That should remedy the problem with the burrs, or if there's any stuck paint to it and things of that nature. Right now I'm going to do that with this piece to see what the final product is going to be. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully the content was of great value to you guys, the viewers. And if you have any comments or questions, please leave it in the comment section. Also, be sure to check the description where you're going to find all the tools and materials as well as the electronics used to create this show. And as promised, I'm going to be recommending this book by Simon Sinek, Start With Why, How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone to Take Action. And the reason why I like this book is because he talks about people like Martin Luther King, Steve Jobs from Apple, and it's basically people that are well known, and that's because their why is something that we all have a sense of and something that we all gravitate to. And he says that this book is written for those who want to inspire others and for those who want someone to inspire them. So be sure to pick up this book. It's a wonderful book. Also, again, if you enjoyed the show, it'd be appreciated if you can click the like button, also the subscription and the notification bell. That way you know when there's upcoming shows. So I'd like to end the show by saying keep dreaming, use your imagination to create, and always do it with action. My name is Alexander Burgos. Thank you.
Oh shoot! Become a man of value. Who made this?
I did. And I'll show you how I did it coming right up. Why are you twisting the camera?
It looks